good evening and thank you for joining us for Bulletin on a day that saw KCSE students sit for their first exam. My name is Wavinya Wanyasa. First, we take a look at the stories we have for you in our headlines. Kenya's Certificate of Secondary Education examinations kick off. Power cost set to drop. We take a look at the Homeless World Cup 2014. Welcome. Now, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education examinations kicked off this morning with up to 1 million students sitting for their first paper, English Paper 1. Nick Mudimba visited State House girls and found them in much excitement. Here's more.
It is only after English Paper 1, but the joy seen on these candidates' faces is purely depicting an incredible confidence in them. This is State House Girls High School, a school that has been blowing hot and cold as far as the overall performance is concerned. The school's principal, Mrs. Joan Moti, is optimistic of improved results come next year.
We start preparing them early. Like we are telling ourselves, every class must finish their syllabus in time, including Form 1s. And we are working smart now with Form 1. Because we realize the more we work smart with Form 1s, the more they will perform when they're in Form 4. So we are focusing all through. And the revision committee group is not just handling questions or materials for Form 4, even Form 1s.
The comparison between a girl and a boy child performance has been one of the key indicators of several levels of education in the country. The teamwork and early preparation accompanied by support from the teachers, according to Mrs. Moti, the girls will surprise many.
We finished the syllabus very early and we had many exams, so it was easy for us to revise for long, so we are well prepared.
This hall carries over 200 candidates. Despite the number, it's one hall that will produce the strong future of this country. For over 2 weeks now, the candidates will be busy handling the final and to many a decider where life will land them in the near future. Reporting for WTV, I am Nicholas Mudimba.
Now, this story sets the basis of our question. What are the most profound memories you have of KCSE? What are the most profound memories you have of KCSE? You could SMS us your thoughts on 20058 or even on our Facebook page, WTV Kenya. And we'll be sampling some of your thoughts in our subsequent bulletins. Well, moving on, according to a new report by the Institute of Security Study, Kenya's counter-terrorism strategy has contributed highly to an increased number of young people joining extremist groups. Now, Bikuradin spoke to a security expert on the same, and this is what he had to say.
Kenya is only one of the two sub-Saharan African countries, the other being Tanzania, to be directly targeted by the current wave of global terrorism.
Our borders from east, round back to east, are very porous. It's so easy to find your way through our borders. The same goes to our coastline. We have a very extensive coastline, and that applies also to Tanzania. We share a very large coastline, and as you know, we have great proximity to the Horn of Africa, where most of these crimes have taken place. That's why also the region, like Kenya, is found to be a hub of global narcotics business because of a large coastline and the ability for these narcotic drivers to use the ocean.
In 1998, Kenya along with Tanzania suffered a terrorist attack that collectively killed over 250 people and injured nearly 5,000 others. Then in 2002, another terrorist attack in Kenya killed 13 people and injured 80, and the latest one being the Westgate Mall attack in 2013. Which begs the question, how is global terrorism manifesting itself in Kenya?
First of all, Kenya's war with global terrorism didn't begin today. We've been here since the 80s when we first had the first major terror attack in Nairobi, the Norfolk Hotel, and years later, the 1998 US bombing and Kikambala. All those had global trends. And of course, the Westgate recently. However, our present problem is contributed largely by Al-Shabaab having affiliated itself to Al-Qaeda Central. And after affiliating and officially being assimilated into the Al-Qaeda family of terror, Al-Shabaab doesn't just play local terrorism, it plays global terrorism. They have actors, and when you talk of global, you're talking about exchange of tactics, exchange of personnel, exchange of finances. The other day you saw how far money comes to Al-Shabaab comes from UK, from Europe, from America, and all these networks have all been focused through the global terror network to support an otherwise regional terror group, but that has a very large global reach. And so that's a complication of our global terrorism problem in Kenya.
But what measures are being undertaken by the country to control this occurrence?
Unfortunately, global terrorists are moving faster, planning faster, acting faster than our local security agents. And while our local security agents are focusing their attention to a refugee camp like Dadaab, the terrorists are smarter enough to know we need to move our base from Dadaab to Kakuma in Turkana, and from where Westgate was actually planned and executed. So our problem is the local security machinery is yet to catch up with the fast-moving global terrorists. They are smarter, they are well-funded. And by the way, do not underrate these people. The United States and all its allies in the West are having a real serious problem with ISIS right now, Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. They are having a real problem because these global terrorists are not also small children. They are smart. They have the best. Men, their current leader, the guy who took after Osama bin Laden, is a medical doctor. Now, you do not think he has an empty or a hollow head. These guys are smart. They know what they are doing. They do it with good plan. The problem and the challenge is always with the local security machinery. It never adapts itself so quickly to catch up with this. Usalama Watch for me was I would call it in Swahili, kitu cha kuangukia. It was something they just decided, let's do it today. It was not planned for. It was not in their national strategic plan for security. Terrorism had become such a threat at that time. That's when they arrested the VBID, vehicle-borne IED in Mombasa, and a few other attacks that were executed. And so they were in a panic mode, and they just had to do something to stop an imminent terror attack.
As Kenya spearhead effort to resolve the Somali and South Sudan crisis, it is important to know that the primary duty of any government is to protect its citizen. Therefore, securing the country's border remains the most critical issue when it comes to security. Rading Biko, reporting for WTV, Nairobi.
Now, Kenya's prospects for long-term growth is among the most favorable in Africa. And now, with the cost of power set to be slashed by up to 30%, there's only so much more that we could look forward to. Over time, the station has grown to be one of the leading suppliers of electricity to the national grid, which in turn has seen Kenya as a country produce surplus electricity. The production of power at the station is at least 2,000 megawatts, and yet the current demand is at 1,500 megawatts. This has in turn helped to reduce the cost of electricity drastically. It is expected that at least a 30% reduction in electricity cost following more geothermal exploration. Already the fuel charge has reduced from 7 shillings and 22 cents to 5 shillings and 1 cent. Another 140 megawatts is expected to be connected to the national grid by the end of October 2014 and was officially commissioned by the President Uhuru Kenyatta on the 17th Friday, October 2014. In his speech, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta during the Mashujaa Day, he assured Kenyans that the cost of power in Kenya will lower, thus reducing the high cost of living.
My government has commenced on a number of transformative initiatives aimed at the creation of millions of jobs. Foremost are the large-scale infrastructure projects that we have initiated that will accelerate our country's economic development. One of these is in expanding energy production so that we can sharply lower the cost of electric power, and I believe that your power bills next month will tell you that this is indeed a reality. By 2017, we intend to add 5,000 megawatts of green, clean, and reliable power to our national grid. Cheaper power delivered through faster connection.
All these projects have been financed by the World Bank, the United Nations Development Programme, and the Government of Kenya. Reporting for WTV, I am Nelly Miller. And we had earlier asked, what are the most profound memories you have of KCSE? Do send us your thoughts on the same on SMS to 0058 and on our Facebook page, WTV Kenya, and we'll get to sample some of your thoughts in our subsequent bulletin. Well, from that story, we switch gears to Oscar Pistorius. He has been sentenced to 5 years in jail for allegedly killing his girlfriend on Valentine's Day. He was also handed a 3-year suspended sentence for gun charges. Here's more.
Within society and all the descriptions and
from a globally lauded Blade Runner to a convicted killer, Oscar Pistorius' fall from grace culminated Tuesday with a 5-year sentence in the shooting of his girlfriend, River Stickamp. The sentence was imposed for the charge of culpable homicide, which in South Africa means a person was killed unintentionally but unlawfully. He was also given a 3-year sentence on a firearms charge, but it was suspended for 5 years on condition he is not found guilty of another crime where there is negligence involving a firearm during that period. That count related to an occasion when Pistorius discharged a loaded handgun under a table in a busy restaurant. No one was hurt.
Now, you've definitely heard of the World Cup, but have you heard of the Homeless World Cup? Well, this year's 8-day 2014 Homeless World Cup kicked off on Sunday in Santiago. Participants are usually drawn from very poor backgrounds with the intention of helping them gain stamina and confidence. Here's more to that report.
Around 80% of players who take part in the event, which consists of 54 teams from different countries, go on to find jobs, homes, or overcome substance abuse. The event site has testimonials of players from countries like Mexico and Peru who relate how they left the streets and have stable jobs and families. Homeless World Cup President Mel Young is confident the organization will continue working with the selected players for a year in preparation for the international event over the next week and the final game, which takes place next Sunday, October 26th.
And that's all we had for you from our news desk this evening. Do have yourselves a blessed one. My name is Wavinya Wanyasa.